everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be my May wrap-up. I finished 11 books this month. I did DNF a couple, I'll talk about them in a different video, but I finished 11 books. I swear May was the longest month ever, literally ever. I'm not mad that it's done, but we have a lot of books to talk about right now. So I'm going to go through them in order, except I'm going to start with the best one that I have read this month because I can, and it's also the last one I finished. So I'm just a little excited to talk about it, and it technically is our Patreon book club pick of the month, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And it is The Rage of Dragons, which is an adult fantasy book. I haven't heard a lot about it, to be honest. I feel like it's underrated. The second book is actually coming out this year, or like has come out this year, and I cannot wait to continue this series. Not gonna lie, you can tell by the post-it, the first half was pink, the second half was green. Not that much happened in the first half. You're following this main character. He's a teenage boy. He's not super likable, but not, unlikable. He doesn't really want to participate into the war, and he's part of the lesser, so there's like team of oppression in there, and it is a queendom, and like, I wouldn't necessarily call it a matriarchy, but it's not a patriarchy, which I feel like it's always the freaking same in every single fantasy book. Like, as much as authors think that, oh, my world is so unique, it's always the same thing, literally. But not in here, which I thought was refreshing. Things definitely pick up. I'm not going to say why, but at around 100 pages, so definitely push through to that point. And it becomes an epic revenge story, which is one of my favorite premises ever. He will, learn to fight, and then a bunch of things happen. There are some great friendships in here, and the magic system is super intriguing. In this world, it's only some female characters that can get access to that, and we're just getting little snippets, but it's super interesting, and I want to learn so much more about it. And yeah, a lot, and I mean a lot happens. Dragons, because some people can be powerful enough to control some dragons, call them to help them, and I am very curious to see how this is going to continue, because I'm giving this 5 stars. It was fantastic. Some interesting twists, like I said, nice world building, enjoyable friendships. There's like a little romance. There's just one sex scene. Not a huge fan of these things, but I feel like it won't be enough to bother even people that aren't really into it. And yeah, I have no idea how this is going to continue, but I will definitely pick up the next 2 books in this series happily. Definitely do recommend checking it out if you are on the lookout for more adult fantasies. Awesome. Straight up awesome. Actually made me realize that I have read a ton of books by women of color, but not a ton of fantasy and sci-fi books written by men of color. Actually more black men, because the only one I can think of, I have like 1 or 2 that I can think of on top of my head that I've read. So if you have any recommendations, please feel free to leave them down below. Now let's go back to the original order that I finished the books. I was listening to the audiobook The Bone Shard Daughter last month and finished it at the beginning of the month. And I have to say, my main review is do not listen to it as an audiobook. Just don't do it. It's an adult fantasy series, and I feel like it was a mistake. I feel like the world building and the magic system are just too complicated with the timeline, the character. Like, it was just too much as an audiobook. I usually don't struggle, but I just couldn't follow this one, which for that reason, I will not be continuing the series. I don't have much to review, and I just don't recommend doing it as an audiobook. Maybe I would have still not enjoyed it as an ebook or physical book, but like, no thoughts, none. Then I went on a kick for mystery thrillers. I've read so many this month, and I will definitely be continuing during the summer because I'm on a kick. Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. Okay, I had been looking forward to reading more by him. This is what my 6th book by him. He tends to write really messed up mystery thrillers, and this one is no different, but it's a little bit different. I feel like there's like some social commentary in there that I just didn't really vibe with. Let's start by the premise. You're following this woman who just got engaged to a rich man, and she goes on a bachelorette party, and she ends up cheating on him. And after the wedding, they go on their honeymoon, which turns out to be on an isolated island with other rich dudes. So kind of gives you an idea. To be honest, it's kind of hard to really care for the main character when she's really unlikable. Frankly, if you cannot read a book with unlikable characters, don't read the book. All of them are unlikable except like her mom. Everyone else could just, I don't care what happens to you. I do feel like a lot of the time mystery thrillers, they only work because the main female character is kind of dumb. And I feel like although she was uncomfortable, which made me uncomfortable, definitely like props for that. I feel like if I were on an isolated island with a bunch of other rich, strange men, and there's only like maybe one other, person that is there with her husband and like one female worker, I would not stay there. I just wouldn't. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, definitely will make you feel uncomfortable. And the ending I did overall enjoy, so it wasn't like fully terrible. But the vibes that I got from this book is like it wants to be like feminist and like an ally, but it comes off as kind of misogynistic. And I don't know if anyone else felt like that, but it's the vibes that I got. I don't know. I just have really mixed feelings. I usually like books that will make me feel uncomfortable, but this one did it in a bad way. But, this might just be me. Then I finally read a mystery thriller I ended up enjoying. I feel like I have such like mixed experiences with them. This specific one was recommended to me because I've read a couple books where you're following a mom who just has had a kid, usually it's a daughter, and you start not knowing if it's the mom that is crazy or if it's the child, there's something wrong with it. Is it paranormal? Is it just like mental illness? You just never know. And I had read a couple, was always disappointed, and was told that this one was the best one, that they had read, and it is so much better. Definitely same kind of premise that I mentioned. However, there are some flashbacks to her grandma's life and her mother's life, which kind of plays with, is it like generational trauma or some type of mental illness going on? And it made it a lot more interesting. As always, the husband is useless in these books. Definitely, like, I feel like if you're with someone and they think they're like your child with them is not fully there, like dangerous, or if they are going crazy, you would be there for them. But every time they just annoy me. Anyway, overall, a lot more enjoyable than the other ones that I have read. I do feel like these kind of books tend to have like an open ending, which I really hate open endings. Just finish it. And I feel like this one is a little bit more clear, so it made me a lot more happy. I'm not going to say more, obviously, because mystery thrillers are better whenever you don't know too much. But if you are someone that enjoys that premise, I do recommend this book. Definitely intense. Quickly, Every Last Fear is another one. This is a debut author. I feel like I've been seeing it quite a bit, so maybe like some good marketing behind it. However, I feel like it's not anything super revolutionary. Long story short, you're following this university student. His older brother's in prison for murder that happened a few years ago, and his family goes on a family trip in Mexico, kind of just out of nowhere, and they die in mysterious circumstances. And you're following kind of this investigation and with flashback of what the family was doing before going. And there was nothing crazy about the story, like it's fine. No twists that are mind-blowing or shocking or anything. However, there were a few moments which made me pause and like I wish I had the physical copy just to give you all the quotes, because I was listening to it as an audiobook and one of the quotes happened literally, there's like 5 pages left. I will include it in here because I for context, actually, it's the end of the book, 5 pages left. It's just a group of people watching the sunset, and this person is asking like, oh, where are these people? And they list a couple people, including this side character that was barely mentioned in the book.
And watching the sunset is probably too symbolic of toxic masculinity in the patriarchy for Sophia.
So yeah, there are a few quotes like that just made me cringe. Like it wants to be woke, but comes off once again kind of misogynistic. I wasn't a fan because of that. Again, it wasn't going to change my mind about the book, but that just definitely didn't help. I also listened to the audiobook Cosmic Queries, which I do enjoy reading once in a while, or I should say listening to nonfiction books about science. They're all like beginner friendly, and I don't feel like I learn that much new things. Obviously, there are a few bits here and there, but I don't feel like I'm retaining that much from these books, but I still enjoy them. It's like watching a documentary. Like I could rewatch it later and, learn new things that I didn't remember from last time. So it's just how I listen to these. I have no expectations of becoming, super knowledgeable on the topic. And I tend to read quite a few. So I feel like every time I'm like learning a little bit more. So it was fine. Nothing amazing, nothing terrible. It was fine. It was enjoyable. Still Life by Louise Penny. I was looking forward to starting this series because there are a million books. I feel like, I believe the 17th one is coming out this year, and it's all like murder mystery, all happening in Quebec, which whoop whoop. I read the first book, Still Life, and I ended up enjoying it. I had been warned that because it's the first book, it's not the best one. Like the murder mystery bits is not like mind-blowing, which I agree. However, the characters, especially the villagers, are so likable. They're not perfect, but it's super interesting anyway. And it was funny because you also got the person that got murdered, like her before quite a bit, which I feel like you don't really see that often in murder mysteries. And yeah, I ended up enjoying it, finding it likable enough, the characters likable enough to continue the series. So I will be doing that. Hopefully in June I'll read number 2. But yes, definitely enjoyable, would recommend. Can't wait to see how that's going to continue, because some of you told me that a lot of it will happen in that tiny little town, which how many murders will happen in a small town? But hey, I'm up for it. Part of my Goodreads reading challenge was to read Anxious People by Frederick Backman. This is my 3rd book by him. I had read A Man Called Uva and Beartown, which I never finished because triggered. I wanted to, give him one more chance. And overall, my opinion about his books is that they tend to be like feel-good books, but they don't really work for me. Like, I don't know if my mind is too like critical or cynical. I understand that it makes people feel good, but it don't really have that effect on me. So I don't have anything to hate or love about it. You're following this person going through trouble in their personal life, and they end up needing money. So they go to a bank to rob the bank, and turns out it's a bank with no cash. So they have to like try and hide from the police. And they see this place where a bunch of people are just visiting an apartment tour. When the police arrives, basically the robber is nowhere to be seen. So like you don't know what happened, and then you're just following the police interrogating the people, and they're all anxious people. They all have like a bunch of stuff happening in their lives, so you get a lot of like character driven stories that way, which was fine. It's just not my cup of tea, so no hard feelings. I would probably give it like 3 stars, just because to me it was just meh. But at least with the book like that, I understand why others would like it, One of my challenges this month was to try and read more from Matt Haig, because I have loved at least 2 books by him. I really enjoyed The Humans or The Midnight Library that just came out. So I wanted to go back and read some of his older stuff that I have on my shelf, including How to Stop Time, which you're following a man who is aging really, really slowly. It's something that happens to a few people here and there, and he's like 400 years old, but he's pretending to be an history teacher. It was kind of giving me vibes a little bit of kind of Adi Larue, like The Invisible Life of Adi Larue by V. Schwab, or a little bit more like The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North. So I didn't like hate the team. It's obviously a premise that interests me, but I feel like it's very, very character driven, and I didn't really care about the characters, not even the main character story. I think my favorite parts were definitely the parts of him like as he was growing up younger, and the present just have no interest. I had no interest in it. So like it's definitely under 3 stars for me. I don't know. Like I was super disappointed just because I've enjoyed it so much. But this one is kind of a meh for me. So I wanted more. I expected more by him. I'm still definitely planning on reading more from the author, but probably is new stuff since the old stuff didn't work. And now, the book that I think a lot of you are waiting for is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I could not wait to read this book. It came out beginning of the month, May 4th, I believe, and I couldn't wait. I have read The Martian by him, gave it 5 stars, loved it, and then I read Artemis, which I hated and gave 2 stars to. One thing to know is that this is his 3rd time writing the exact same main character. This time he doesn't swear, so he's not exactly Matt Watney from The Martian, and it was a complete fail when he tried to write a female character in Artemis, like Jazz. No, like why is she talking about boobs so much? It made no sense. But in this one, since it's the 3rd time, I feel like he's not as likable. I'm kind of like over the corny jokes at this point, like the dad jokes, just meh. Anyway, what I knew when I went into it was that you were following this main character who wakes up in a spaceship. The rest of the crew is dead, and he has to save humanity with his wit, which I love that premise, in science, in space, trying to survive, good. But there's like a lot more happening before we get to that point, which you're following this main character who is a science teacher, high school. He's a scientist, but end up, becoming a high school teacher. And humanity is trying to figure out what's going on with the sun. It's like becoming dimmer and dimmer way too fast. And things happen. It's kind of I'm going to avoid any spoilers as usual, but I would say this is like a first contact with alien and again trying to survive in space, which contrary to The Martian, I didn't love the sciencey bits as much. Let me explain. I feel like whenever you were following The Martian, things made sense. Like there was a progression, sciencey bits would happen, they would be explained really well, they were very accessible, and it was progressing. Like you didn't feel like you were stopping. I feel like in this case, every time something would happen, it would be pretty easily solved, I feel like. And it would just like really stop the story. And I didn't feel like I was seeing the progression at least as much. And it made me kind of lose interest. But I also find that he impressed me with some of the things that he included that I didn't expect from him. I really enjoyed some of the friendships in the books that were just like not what I expected. And I'm left kind of torn because there aren't that many reviews out yet because the book's, is brand new. So I will be waiting for everyone else's review because I need to sometimes it just helps to read other people's review. You're like, oh, see, this is how I felt. Like you put into words my feelings. But yeah, some bits were kind of boring, but then some bits were really, really interesting. So I think I'm going to mash all of it and give it 3.5 stars, which I don't feel like reflects my feeling that well. But yeah, I'm just really torn. I don't know how to explain it better than this. It's just a lot happens that is really interesting. A lot kind of bored me. So 3.5. One last one. I almost forgot to talk about it. On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous, which I think it's considered poetry, which isn't really my cup of tea, but it is also part of my Goodreads reading challenge. I listened to it as an audiobook, which I would recommend since the author is the one narrating it, which I always prefer, well, when it's possible. You're following the family history of the main character, his grandmother, his mother, as they came from Vietnam, and himself as he's growing up in the US. And it talks about race, class, and trauma, and it was really beautiful. I'm kind of torn if it's better as an audiobook or a physical book because I feel like there are so many quotes that are just stunning that you might want to remember, but at the same time as an audiobook, it was just fantastic to listen to. So it's definitely up to you. I don't think you can go wrong with that one. I don't even know how to rate this just because it's not something I usually go for, but I did fully enjoy it. Definitely understand the hype behind that one. I was definitely not kidding when I said this was going to be a long one. 11 books this month. I'm doing great. I'm currently listening to Long Bright River by Liz Moore, which I thought was a mystery thriller. I thought it was in that category on the Goodreads reading challenge. Not that they always put it at the right spot because they often don't. To me, it's more like family drama, just like fiction than really mystery thriller. Is it because it starts with like a murder mystery and you're following a cop, but there's a lot of back and forth between timelines and it just seems like family drama. Anyway, it's not bad. It's just not what I expected. I'll let you know once I'm done because so far I'm only 44% into it. So maybe actually I'm pretty far. I'll let you know in June how it goes, but that's what I'm currently listening to. So that's it. That was a lot of books. I told you May was long. I literally didn't remember reading these the beginning of the month. That they were from this month. That's how long it felt in my head. With that said, with the last book that I just finished, I have hit my 50 books reading goal for 2021. Things are going well. I will be increasing it probably midpoint. When I do my mid-year book freakout video, I'll change it to something else. Probably won't increase it too much because realistically speaking, I still have so many huge books to read. If you haven't seen my summer TBR, a couple are 1,000 pages and I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, but it's kind of crazy that first month of the year and I have hit 50 books read. Happy about it. Let me know how your month went. Let me know if you have read any of these. Which one did you enjoy? Let's talk about them in the comment section. Also, let me know the best one that you've read in May because I want to know. Always need more recommendation. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in my next one very soon. Bye.
Lonely, you're the reason why I can feel those butterflies.